My name is Jeffrey Babb. I'm a security training engineer with Palo Alto Networks. And today I want to talk to you about GlobalProtect for PAN-OS version 7.1. The purpose of our demonstration today is not to do any deep dives into GlobalProtect, but rather just to show you what needs to be configured in order to get GlobalProtect up and running. So we'll look at an overview of GlobalProtect, preparing the firewall for GlobalProtect, and then configuring the portal, gateway, and the agents. Okay, so every time a user leaves the building with their laptops or their mobile devices, they're bypassing the corporate firewall. And GlobalProtect resolves this issue by extending the protection of the Palo Alto Networks next generation security platform to your mobile workforce by using GlobalProtect to maintain visibility into traffic and enforcement of security policies for protection against known and unknown threats. You can use GlobalProtect as a licensed product or an unlicensed product. If you use it as an unlicensed product, you simply get the secure remote access VPN solution for either single or multiple internal or external gateways. And again, you would not need any licenses for that. However, if you wanted to use some more of the advanced features, such as enabling HIP checks or associated content updates, you would then have to have a licensed version of GlobalProtect. And that license would need to be installed on each firewall that is running a gateway that will perform those HIP checks, right? GlobalProtect provides a complete infrastructure for managing your mobile workforce to enable secure access for all your users, regardless of what devices they are using or where they are located. That infrastructure includes the portal, the gateways, and the clients. So let's talk about the portal. The portal provides the management functions for GlobalProtect infrastructure. Every client system that participates in the GlobalProtect network receives configuration information from the portal. This will include information about the available gateways, as well as any client certificates that may be required to connect to those GlobalProtect gateways. You also have the GlobalProtect gateways themselves. You have two options. You have the external gateways or the internal gateways. The GlobalProtect Gateway provides security enforcement for traffic coming from GlobalProtect agents or apps. If you are connecting to an external gateway, then that gateway will provide you with the security enforcement or the VPN access for your remote users. The internal gateways are configured on an interface that's on the internal side of your network that is configured as a GlobalProtect gateway. You would want to use an internal gateway for sensitive environments where authenticated access to critical resources is required. So what happens is the GlobalProtect client will send a request to the portal requesting the information necessary for the connection. Once the GlobalProtect portal identifies the client, it will send the configuration information to the client, which will include the information about the available gateways. Now, those gateways can be configured with different priorities. Which gateway you connect to will be dictated by what is the priority of that gateway or what is the fastest response time for those gateways. But we will look at those configurations. Okay, in order to get GlobalProtect up and running, we'll need some specific configuration set. But before we look at that, just verify, I'm using PAN-OS version 7.1.6 and the latest version of GlobalProtect 3.1.4. In order to get GlobalProtect running, I'll need to configure some interfaces. So I'll go to my Ethernet interfaces, and I'm looking at Ethernet 1/1, and their interfaces that's going to be used for GlobalProtect can either be a layer 3 interface or it can be a loopback interface. And for the purposes of this explanation, I will go with a layer 3 interface. That layer 3 interface is tethered to a virtual router, the default virtual router, and it is in zone layer 3 untrust. So my external or my remote users will have a way to connect back to my corporate environment or GlobalProtect. Another option I have would be to create the loopback. And again, I don't want to create the loopback for this particular example, but it's an option. Another thing that I can do is create a tunnel. Tunnels are not mandatory, however, they are an option. And for this explanation, I went with tunnel.2. It is not assigned an IP address. It is connected to the default router. It is in zone layer 3 trust, and currently it is assigned to GlobalProtect. So let's look at the portals. So as far as the portal is concerned, I've identified Ethernet 1/1 as the interface that I'm going to be using for GlobalProtect. And this is the IP address for Ethernet 1/1. I can use different response pages. In this case, I'm choosing to go with the factory default response page. I have authentication profiles, which I've already set up. In subsequent demonstration videos, we'll look at setting up the authentication profiles. These things have already been pre-configured for this demo. For the agent itself, when I configure the agent, I'll have to give it a name and identify what type of certificate I want to use. In this example, I'm going to go with a local certificate, and I'm using a certificate called Test Cert. And I'm saying that I want to save the user credentials, but these are just specific options that you would want to go ahead and decide if you want to use them. As far as the user group is concerned, I'm saying I want any user group with any operating system, and we're good to go there. If you want to, you can get more specific. The internal or external gateway options. Right now, I'm just going to go with an external gateway for my remote users, and they will connect to 55.20, and this gateway has the highest priority. If I want to do internal host detection, basically what I'm saying is I want to know if this host is a machine that is on the corporate environment right now, or if they are outside the corporate environment, maybe they're at Starbucks. I also have the option to use third-party VPNs. And if I want to do that, my options will be the PAN virtual Ethernet adapter, Juniper, or Cisco options. I just went with the PAN option here. For my app itself, you have to make a decision. How do you want your users to be able to connect to GlobalProtect? Do you want to do on demand, whereby the user manually initiates the connection, or you can go with user log on or pre-log on using a machine certificate, or pre-log on then on demand? These are just some options that you can choose. The allow user to disable GlobalProtect app. You do not need to allow your users to disable GlobalProtect, but if you do, you can say, I want to allow it, or disallow, or allow with a comment or passcode or a ticket, if that's what you choose to do. And if you do decide to allow users to disable disconnect, you can set a threshold for how many times they get to disable GlobalProtect. If I'm using a licensed version of GlobalProtect, then I can do the HIP collection, but we're not looking at any of those advanced features right now. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and look at the gateways. The GlobalProtect Gateway also is using local interface Ethernet 1/1, same IP, and I currently have it using tunnel.2. Again, I don't have to use tunnel.2, or I don't have to use a tunnel at all. I am choosing to. And when I go into the gateway and click on agent, the option for tunnel mode is a checkbox. If I want to use it, I'll check the box. If not, I won't check the box. If I do decide to use the tunnel, then by default, enable IPsec will be checked. And if I do not want to use IPsec, I can take that checkbox out, whereby we will use SSL. However, if I leave that checkbox in, I'm saying I want to use IPsec, but if for any reason IPsec should fail, go ahead and revert back to using SSL. The option for enable XAuth support is, do you want to allow extended authorization options? But again, that is an advanced feature, which we don't need to look at right now. We also have our timeout settings. How long do you want the tunnel to live for? If the tunnel is not being used or it's idle, how long should it stay idle for before it's shut down? For client settings, I can identify different groups or users. I can identify specific operating systems I want. And in this case, I'm only allowing Windows users. And if you are going to be allowed to be connected, then you would get an IP address from 192.168.100.1 through .25. The option for no direct access to local network simply means that if you are connected to GlobalProtect, you no longer have access to devices on your local subnet, for example, your wireless printer. Okay. The network services, do you want your devices to inherit their information, or do you want to manually enter it? Again, hit notification would be an option if we had a licensed version of GlobalProtect. The satellite option would be for large-scale VPN connections, and that would be discussed in a later demonstration video. So at this point, we've configured everything we need to configure for GlobalProtect to work. So let's go ahead and test and verify that we are connected to GlobalProtect. So we are now at the point where we can download the GlobalProtect agent for our Windows machine or our Mac device. If you want it for a mobile device, you can go to the App Store or the Play Store so you can install the agent that you want to use. So just to show you, I already have GlobalProtect enabled, so I'll share this with you. And here we have the welcome page for GlobalProtect. We have the notice to users, and we can say that we don't want to see this message again if we don't want to. And I have my GlobalProtect icon, which I will click here, and we can see that we are connected to GlobalProtect. And we have the portal that I'm connected to, the assigned local IP, the IP of the gateway that I'm connected to. The security protocol I'm using is IPsec, and these are the specific details for GlobalProtect. If I click on home, I can see the URL for the portal, and my username is visible, and you'd also have to put in your password here so you can see that you are connected to GlobalProtect. And as you can see, the status is connected. So that's the end of our GlobalProtect demonstration video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you. Have a good day.